my name is Bo. Today we are going to do the tuna bake. So to begin with, I'm going to explain you about the ingredient that we have with the recipe. We have green pea with the carrot from the tin, and then we got also corn, we got shredded cheese, we got pasta. We also got breadcrumb, we also got flour, and then we got tuna. And then we also got a cup of milk, which is for about 250 mils. And to begin with, for this recipe, what we need to do, we need to cook the pasta. So the pasta water, the boiling water is going on, and of course we need to season the water. And normally when you cook pasta, we always say it's 1 to 10. And it means, if you got 1 kilo, you need to have a 10 liter of water. That's the ratio, the general ratio for the pasta. But the amount of the pasta that we got is not much, so you don't really need a lot of water. So it's a waste of energy. So just to be able to cook together. But if you haven't got enough water to cook the pasta, sometimes the pasta stick together into the water and become like a gloggy. So part of the reason why you have to have enough water, but probably not 10 liters for this pasta. So water is going on, drop this pasta as soon as the water starts boiling. And the most important part for cooking pasta is, traditionally we always call it al dente, basically be able to bite. It's cooked, but you got some sort of a crunchy texture in the middle. But these days, if you cook that sort of pasta, a lot of people say, oh, my pasta is not cooked. It's entirely up to you. But when you cook pasta, seasoning is very important at the same time as the correct amount of the water to the pasta. And then when you cook pasta always need to be cooking into the boiling hot water, not with the cold water. It's very important, right? So the pasta is cooking. Put the lid back on so that it cooks a little bit quicker, but not close it completely, otherwise the water overflows. And at the same time, when you look at the ingredient here, so we got our milk for about 250 mils. And if you really want to change this recipe, you can go for soy milk, almond milk. You can also use coconut milk. It's not really going to be a traditional, but you can always use a different milk, plant-based milk or nut-based milk. But this is the actual milk, and it's 250 mils for about 1 cup of milk. And then we also got flour. Flour and the milk for this recipe is a literally thickening agent. So traditionally it's called bechamel sauce, or in English we call it white sauce. Bechamel sauce, when you make bechamel sauce, you put butter and flour equal amount, mix it together, cook a little bit, and then slowly pour the milk and whisk it. You get a nice and smooth bechamel sauce. So for this, we are not really going to complicate the recipe, just to make it easy. So we got flour, we got milk, but right at the end, once pasta is cooked, we are going to mix all together and put it into the, any type of mold, any type of container that goes into the oven. So to begin with, we are going to prepare everything. I'm going to put my tuna in here. And with the tuna, we are also going to put all the vegetables. As I said before, you can always replace the ingredient. If you don't want to use the tin product, you can always use fresh ingredient if you have. The reason why this type of recipe is very good is you don't really need to spend a lot of time to prepare it. The idea is a really, really quick meal, but they are really good. And a lot of places that you eat outside is pretty much exactly the same as you cook like this. Nothing different. So the idea is showing you how to make this so that you know exactly what you're going to eat. So the breadcrumb, you never mix with this ingredient. Breadcrumb is basically, for this type of recipe, it's a texture going on the top. And if you don't like breadcrumb, you can use something else. You can put herbs into it. And then cheese, any type of shredded cheese. So let's have a look at the pasta. And when you cook pasta like that, normally it takes about 5-6 minutes. So whether it's cooked or not, most of the time you can read the package instruction and set time, or you can just always pick up 1 or 2 pasta and just try. So what we are going to do, I'm going to mix all these ingredients together to begin with. Now my pasta is almost ready, and once I drain my pasta, what we need to do, this is a very, very simple and easy dish. And what we are going to do, the idea is that we are going to break this tuna, the tin tuna. Sometimes if you don't break it, you don't really spread the tuna all the way through. The lumps of tuna stays in one part. And then especially if you are serving for a lot of different people, some people got tuna, some people haven't got the tuna. Tuna is actually flavor for this dish. Otherwise it's just the vegetable and the pasta, right? So what we are going to do, break all the tuna and spread it nicely. And once you get this, and we can put this on the side and then drain this pasta. Alright, so I got my all the vegetable and tuna mixture in it. So what we are going to do, the pasta is hot, right? The other mixture is cold, so pasta cools down straight away. As you see, the mixture is absolutely brilliant. And if you don't want to bake in the oven, you can literally serve this as a meal. You got you got carbohydrate. You got carbohydrate from the pasta. You got a bit of protein from the seafood, which is tuna. You got minerals and things like that from the vegetables. So everything's here, literally. And if you want to, you can put rocket into it. You can put sun-dried tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, mix all together and make it a nice salad. It's the summer salad. Not much fat into it. It's absolutely beautiful and very easy to make it. So what we are going to do, we are going to spread this flour. Instead of making bechamel sauce, this recipe we got the flour. So flour is going to be thickening agent. So the most important thing for this, you need to, once you put raw flour with this mixture, you need to bake it properly. Otherwise, tastes like a raw flour. So I got my flour, and what we are going to do, I'm going to put my milk in there. How easy is that? Everything is done. So what we are going to do, we are going to pack this into the mold. Normally when you put your flour and milk and things like that, by the time you take it out of the oven, it's set. So you can cut into a block and then maybe make a nice size salad. And I put it on the top or on the side, and then you got a beautiful meal. So what we are going to do, I got everything filled up into the ramekin. So now the breadcrumb and the cheese goes on the top. Breadcrumb, if you add it too early, what happens is because the breadcrumb is basically to create texture or a little bit of a brownish color on the top. So if you add the breadcrumb too early, breadcrumb gonna absorb all the moisture and I get wet. So there's no point of adding it, right? So what we are going to do to begin with, I'm going to go with the cheese. Put the cheese, and so that when you bake in the oven, you get a really nice crust or beautiful color from the heat by the time you cook the cheese on the top. And at the same time, when you add the breadcrumb on the top, you get a really nice crusty or texture. Alright, so what we are going to do, we are going to spread this breadcrumb. This is normal breadcrumb. You can also use Japanese panko crumb, which is basically more texture, a little coarser than this. This is really a fine breadcrumb. You can use it, you can try with a lot of different breadcrumbs. But if you think you haven't got breadcrumbs, to make a breadcrumb is very, very easy. Your leftover bread, just dry it in the oven and then basically pound, crush it. And that's the breadcrumbs, And a lot of people's breadcrumbs are basically, in the breadcrumb, you can put a lot of different flavor, herb oils and things that dry out into the oven and then put on the pasta as a texture. So what we are going to do now, this goes into the oven, right? This goes into the oven for about half an hour, 180 degrees, but the length of the timing is entirely depends on the temperature of your oven. So you may have to adjust maybe in a higher heat and longer time, maybe a lower heat and less time or more times. It's always have to, if you use this recipe for 1 or 2 times, you can always, suss it out. You can always get to know, familiar with the recipe. So now what we are going to do, we are going to put this into the oven. The oven is already switched on. You need to, before you put this into the oven, make sure your oven is already on and hot enough. So this goes into the oven. And it's on 300. Now I'm going to reduce the heat about 180. So I just heated up the ovens, right? It's very important to heat up the oven before you put it in. That's all we need to do. And a nice and simple recipe.
This has been a Cabana production.